and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take.
Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to module 6.2 on ESRS-2 general disclosure. In last module 6.1, we already seen ESRS-1 general disclosure. In today's sessions, we will focus on draft ESRS-2 general disclosures, as you can see on the screen, the November 2025 edition. So ESRS-2 acts as the mandatory backbone standard. So here, similarly, ESRS-1, here they also share the ESRS-2 general disclosures, which also contain various types of table of contents that covers business preparations 1, business preparation 2, how to disclose governance strategy and general disclosures guidelines related to the policies, actions, metrics, and targets. They mention Appendix A that what are the list of data points that are compared to the other standards, for example, SFDR, CSRD, EU taxonomy. Those are the cross-cutting and topical standards that are also part of the EU legislation for the low carbon economy and the Green Deal. So they are also sharing the Appendix A that covers whole the table. So again, this is the very complicated and uh, law-based document. So I have converted the whole document into the very understandable and easy language process in the presentation slides. So these are the presentations that I have created from this particular document for each and every new amendment that I have done in 2025, and they also decided through the EU Parliament and EU Council that what are the ESRS-2 general disclosures has been done. So we will see each and every chapter that are mentioned here, and we will see each details through the table of content through the slide. So let's start with this. So first, uh, in today's things, we will see the ESRS-2. So as I mentioned, ESRS-2 act as a mandatory backbone standard for all the undertaking under the CSRD. Unlike the topical standards, so ESRS-2 applies universally, that is mandatory standard, and regardless of the sector or material or any kind of topic, it is mandatory for all the corporate company who is liable and report under the CSRD. So it defines the cross-cutting report architecture, that how organizations disclose governance, strategy, impacts, risk and opportunity, and also the performance metrics, that is data points, which is very important. And all the things are should consider as a in a consistent way across the environment, social and governance. So these are the topics that can be understand through the various types of reporting requirements through the Green Deal, that cross-cutting architectures that covers under this ESRS-2. So in the first, the objective of cross-cutting reporting framework is to understand how the material is useful for any kind of cross-cutting reporting framework under the ESRS-2. So three key mandate is first is universality. So this disclosures requirements apply to all the companies. Second, materiality integrations. So ESRS-2 operationalized double materiality by embedding impacts, risk, and opportunity throughout the disclosures. And the third is a structural consistency. It standardized reporting across governance, strategy, IRO management, metrics, and targets. This also very much similar to TCFD and ISSB. So think of ESRS-2 as the framework that connects every topical standards into one coherent sustainability narratives. So next we will see the basis for preparations that call as a BP1, BP2. So that stands for the basis for preparation. So in BP boundary is very much understandable, that covers reporting boundaries who is mirror the consolidated financial statements, but also extend across the entire value chain. So in BP1, it defines the scope and boundaries, and it defines your entire value chain. What are your operational control? What are your financial control? And based on that, you can decide your scope and boundaries. So if sustainability boundaries differ from your financial boundaries, then companies must explicitly explain why it is. So some of that companies have some back of the investors and all the financial controls done by the investors. And similarly, the financial boundaries are different, but the operational boundary that your company is doing all the operations and companies must disclose this kind of stuff in your report. In BP2, that is reliefs and phase-ins, so that covers a temporary relief apply for acquisitions and the disposals. So some of that corporate company, if acquire any kind of other company, so for the temporary, it will relieve from the acquisitions and disposals. So they not they are not liable to cover those acquisitions under the ESRS and CSRD reporting work. After few years, after 1 year, they have to add those kind of acquisitions and related the disposals of your company into your report. Second is undue cost or effort. So you can also see the what are the cost of acquisitions, what are the cost of disposals. So those are the cost cannot uh, maybe may not be included in this whole ESRS and CSRD module. Then the phase-in allows delayed data disclosure. So you can also do a data uh, points after few years for the particular data delay. So phase-wise delay is allowed under the ESRS2. So that is there and relief part of uh, ESRS2. So, but the materiality must still be declared even when metrics are postponed. So, for example, you thought that we will report our scope 3 emission in next 2 years, but you have to mention that your top priority is your top material risk is the GHG emissions or the climate change. So you have to disclose those kind of metrics or the material risk so that you can also mention those kind of reliefs in your report. So overall, this ensures the transparency despite of the implementation challenges. So overall, BP1 and BP2 is helpful for you to understand what you are preparing for. Basically, ESRS1 and ESRS2 is helpful to prepare the whole structure of your report. Then the governance is coming up. So governance that covers roles, oversight, and the expertise. So this disclosures focus on how leaderships govern the sustainability. So that is called as a GOV-1. So those companies must report board compositions matrix that independence, employee representations, gender diversity related all the data. The second is sustainability competency, that how boards member assess availability of the ESG expertise. So in your board members, who are the expertise in the ESG, who are the expertise in overall broader assessment of the climate change. So these things needs to be disclosed. Third is oversight mechanism, who is accountable for your material risk, your impact, risk, and opportunities, and monitoring all the targets. So you have to assign one person at board level that or the senior management level that who is oversight all the targets that needs to be achieved by short term, long term, and medium term goal. So overall, this connects sustainability directly to the boardroom with accountability. So your investors, your lenders, your customers, or your communities can understand how your board member is working for the sustainability. Then under the governance, there are different things that covers incentives and the risk control. So government governance 2, governance 3, and governance 4. That is part of the governance chapter. So in governance 2, in that part of the incentives, in that organization must disclose whether executive remunerations, it means chief executive officer, chief sustainability officer, chief financial officer, their remuneration is linked to sustainability performance of your company and including those metrics used and percentage of variable pay. So you have to make a policies related to that executive remunerations pay that should link with your sustainability performance of your company or product. In governance 3 and governance 4, that part of the risk control, so in that companies must describe your due diligence integrations, second internal controls over sustainability data, that can be part of your GHG emissions analysis, GHG emission inventory, or climate scenario analysis, and etc. And third is process ensuring accuracy and integrity. So you have to ensure that you have your data is very much accurate, and you have a good integrity to disclose all the information. So this elevates ESG information to the financial grade governance standards. So similar kind of financial audit report, you have to also disclose this kind of ESG informations, and that also compare your financial grade governance standards. Then in strategy part, now we already seen the governance part, governance 1, governance 2, governance 3, and governance 4. Now we will move into the strategy that covers the business model and the sensitive activities. So here it's part of the SBM1, which is Sustainable Strategy Business Management 1. So these sections explain what the companies does and where sustainability risk originate. So in that you can have to disclose that covers business model description, how your product and your service generate the revenue, what's your business model, you have to explain in your ESG report. Second one is a value chain positions. So what are your value chain positions for the uh, particular products and service? And third one is a product and services group that helps to understand what are the stakeholders or what are the target audience. And these are the mandatory declarations of involvement in sensitive sector. So here ESRS1 under the CSRD, they have mentioned the mandatory sensitive sectors that covers fossil fuels, chemicals, controversial weapon, and tobacco. So those who are doing this kind of services or the products or manufacturing, they have to disclose this kind of things that I mentioned, including related revenue. So how the companies is also generating the revenue from this kind of stuff. So this provide investors clarity on the exposure of controversial activity. So sustainability ESG is supporting the mitigate the climate change, supporting the human rights, supporting the social well-being. So investment into the tobacco, investment into the controversial weapon, these are the very highly sensitive sectors. So if you are into that particular uh, uh, services or manufacturing, then you have to understand that it might be difficult to get the capital or the finance from the market in near future, because it is mandatory for all the investors to disclose this kind of stuff under the SFDR, and this is very important for sustainable finance as well. So if you are doing a tobacco related products or tobacco related services, then it might be difficult to get a finance from the market because of the regulations. Then we will move into the strategy part, SBM2, that covers a stakeholder engagement, which is a very important part of your services or the product. So that covers companies must explain how affected stakeholders and workers influence strategy. So you have to disclose the key requirement that covers how stakeholders view reach administrative and the management bodies. So this formalize stakeholder engagement at governance input and not just a consultation. So that is why stakeholder engagement is very important, and stakeholder engagement is also very much important for the ESRS1 under the double materiality assessment, as I mentioned earlier. Then under the strategy interactions, we will move into the SBM3 that covers interactions with impacts and the financial effects. So in ESRS1, we saw the double materiality assessment, their materiality risk, and what are the impact, risk, and opportunity. So under that, you have to understand your financial effects across the impacts. So these slides introduce the feedback loop between the sustainability and the finance, and how for that companies must disclose current financial effects of material IROs and anticipated short, medium, and long-term impacts. So these are the goals that require to disclose your strategy, your disclose your commitment, and disclose your whole short-term, medium-term, and long-term impacts. Here, quantitative data is not available. You can use qualitative explanation as well to identify the affected financial lines items that helpful to understand your stakeholder. So you can utilize the qualitative explanations if you don't have the financial impact in quantitative data. So this embeds sustainability into the financial forecasting so that you can understand what are the future scenario for your sustainability journey through your financial effects. Uh, then IRO management. So now it's very much important part that are coming. We already saw the governance 1, 2, 3, 4. We also seen the strategy part, SBM1, SBM2. Now it comes under the IRO management, that impact, risk, opportunity management. So under the IRO management, as a part of IRO1, you have to do a materiality assessment. So in ESRS1, we already seen that what is the double materiality assessment. Here you have to explain and disclose as per the ESRS2. You can definitely disclose and explain as per your whole assessment. So here we see the materiality assessment process, and for that, what are the inputs required? So you have to do a due diligence through your products and service, your stakeholder engagement, your value chain, and expert judgment through your stakeholder engagement whole process. And based on that whole process, the assessment criteria you can divide into the various types of flags like severity, likelihood, scale, and remediability. So those whole assessment criteria can be part of the double materiality assessment, and that coverage span across your operations plus upstream and the downstream. So this create a structure funnel from broad input to material IROs. So that is very important for the IRO1, that is part of the materiality assessment. Then IRO management, IRO2, that covers the disclosure of outcomes. So here it's very important to companies must publish the inventory of material impacts, risk, and the opportunity. So whatever materials impact for you, you have to disclose the inventory, and also the content index of your ESRS disclosures. So whatever the data points that they have asked as per the topical standards and as per the ESRS1 and ESRS2, you have to disclose those kind of stuff, and what are the positive, negative impact of that particular inventory you have to disclose on that side. Here is the very important point. If climate change is not material for your product or your services, then you have to justify that why it is so. Your stakeholder thinking that climate change is not your priority or not your material risk, then why it is so. So you have to give a justification, which is a very mandatory thing. And additionally, exposure to forced or child labor that are part of the various law. that must always be disclosed by geography or operation type. And this overall strengthen the social risk transparency under the S social pillar. Now we will move into the policy and action that GDR in the ESRS2 that covers GDR governance disclosures related stuff. So GDR-P is part of the policies and GDR-A is part of the actions. So each and every corporate companies for their ESG report, they have to disclose the objective, scope, and the alignment with UN guiding principle that also covers human rights. And second is OECD guidelines, so that covers the labor related stuff, human rights related stuff, social well-being related stuff. So you have to disclose those data points. We will see those kind of indicators as well. What are the indicators that you can disclose as per the UN or OECD? And those policies that you have to develop and actions under the report is the key actions that you have planned for your uh, human rights related stuff or the social well-being related stuff or any kind of anti-money laundering related stuff, and what are the planning situations at this moment. Also, you have to disclose the allocations of OPEX and CAPEX for this kind of policies, not only the human rights related stuff, but overall sustainability related stuff, and what are the expected outcomes out of that. So this demonstrate the operationalizations of your commitments so that you can your vision and missions can be also aligned with your sustainability reporting. Now we will move into the GDR-M and GDR-T, which is part of the metrics and targets. So under the GDR-M, which is covers metrics, you have to disclose your unit of measurements, which type of unit measurement and methodology that you have adopt. For example, if you disclose a scope 1, 2, 3 emissions, so you have to also mention that which type of methodology that you have utilized for calculating the GHG emissions. You can mention the GHG protocol or ISO or any kind of methodology that you have developed your own. Uh, Third is the data quality and the proxy usage. So sometimes the data is not available or raw data is not available or your partner's data you cannot get the partner's data. So you can use the proxy usage or any kind of industry's average. So you have to mention those kind of proxy usage under the GDRM matrix and the GDR targets. So target must be smart. So that is smart. We will see during the data points what is the meaning of detailed in smart. Linked with your policies based on the scientific evidence of environment topics that covers the baseline, current progress, and the future target must be clearly present. So here it is very much important to disclose your target under the measurable, time bound, and outcome oriented so that you can see your progress year by year or day by day, and your investors also can see the progress day by day. Now we will move here the ESRS2, the general requirement ESRS2 is covers all the chapters through the governance, through the business preparations 1 and 2, through the strategy, through the IRO management, and through the overall metrics and targets. So ESRS2 is also mentioning the cross-cutting data points mapping. So this slide shows you how ESRS2 aligns with other EU regulations that is part of the sustainable finance, that is part of the Green Deal, that is part of the low carbon economy regulations. So there is a not only the CSRD and ESRS regulations are there for sustainability, but there are so many of other regulations in EU. So they have implement the omnibus simplification package in which they have to do data mapping so that the burden to corporate companies is not much. So here the SFDR that is Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulations, which align with ESRS as well, CSRD. Also the benchmark related regulations, also the EU climate law, which is part of the EU climate taxonomy and the other regulations of climate related stuff, and pillar 3, that part of the capital requirements. So those all the regulations are cross-cutting, and the data points, some of the data points are overlap to each other. So they already mapped those kind of stuff. I will add the detailed documents in the video descriptions. You can just go through that whole document. So the concept is double duty, which is ESRS2 data simultaneously satisfy the requirements of other financial market participants. So you can utilize those data whenever it is required or whenever your investor is asking. And the Appendix B, which is a qualitative characteristic of information. So as I mentioned in early slide that you can disclose qualitative informations that various quantitative data is not available in few of the sector on few of the data points. So that information should be relevant, faithfully represented, comparable, verifiable, and understandable, and the timely manner. So this principle mirror the financial reporting quality standards and ensure the decision useful ESG data. So those kind of things that you have to keep in your mind, that whenever you are explaining your story or the whole commitment, then you have to be sustainability ESG data should relevant, faithfully represented, comparable, verifiable, and timely understandable. And the final is overall strategic implications and the road ahead. So we already seen the whole scenario of ESRS-1, ESRS-2, which is a general requirements. So ESRS-1 and ESRS-2 shows you that how to prepare yourself to prepare a CSRD report. There are so many of data points they mention, and now after the omnibus implementations and the approval from the EU Parliament and the Council, there are so many of data points deleted and decrease the reporting work. So ESRS2 is embed sustainability across the governance, the strategy, IRO management, policies and actions, and the metrics and targets. So overall, the CSRD has and the ESRS has a 5 pillar. Similar ISSP has a 4 pillar, so that you can understand how to report yourself for the CSRD. So overall, the key takeaway is integration. So sustainability becomes your part of whole business model. Second is transparency. So you have to increase your granularity on the sensitive sectors. And ESRS2 is also the coherence. So boardroom decisions connect directly to your balance sheet. So based on this report, your investors, your lenders, your customers can understand how the board members is working for sustainability journey. So overall compliance with ESRS2 that ensure the true connectivity between the financial and the sustainability reporting. So this is the very important stuff, and ESRS2 transform the sustainability from a reporting exercise into the governance and the strategy discipline, and it established the operating system for the whole CSRD compliance, that linking your impacts, risk, actions, and financial performance, and that covers into the one integrated framework. So that is a very broad framework and very detailed framework that developed by the EU. So you can understand better. I hope you enjoy the ESRS2 6.2 module, and now we will cover the much in detail for the next module 7. Thank you very much. Stay tuned for the further video. Thank you.